I'm not making any money. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use. Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory. Kahaloyim Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rachaha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, right? The hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom, right? To the, to the perfection of the saints, right? That's what's going to happen. The perfection of the saints. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, right? Because there are Israelites who look like other nations, but their phenotype looks like another nation, but their bloodline goes back to Israel through their father, not through your mother, through your father. To you sisters, you are Chwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, right? Because there's a ranking. Right? And the Lord, he set up the order, the head of every woman is the man. The head of the man is Yahweh Shai, and the head of Yahweh Shai is the father, Yahweh. Right? Simple. Right? So Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect.
To wear the medal, you are looking at one of the most controversial moments in figure skating history. 1994 World Championships. Her name is Surya Bonali, a black powerhouse in a sport obsessed with ice princesses. That night, she was undeniable. Her jumps were massive. Her technique was flawless. She didn't just skate to the music, she owned it. But when the scores came up, the crowd gasped. Her technical scores were high, but her artistic scores, suspiciously low. She wasn't beaten by a better skater, she was beaten by the judges. So at the medal ceremony, she rebelled. She refused to stand on the podium, and when she finally stepped up, tears streaming down her face, she took the silver medal off her neck. She held it in her hand, a silent protest that screamed louder than words. She didn't speak to the press. She let the moment speak for itself. But she wasn't done. Years later, at the 1998 Olympics, she gave the world one final image, the backflip. Landing on one foot, it was illegal, it was dangerous, it was legendary. She knew she wouldn't win gold, so she decided to win history. Surya Bonali didn't skate for their approval. She skated for...
Yeah, so this is Psalms 62, verse 3 says, how long will ye imagine mischief against a man? And that's Esau Edom, man. He has this perpetual hatred. And, I mean, how long will he imagine mischief against a man? Perpetually, right? He's always going to come up against us, right? Until he get taken out of the way. It says, ye shall be slain, all of you, right? Which the Lord, Obadiah 1:18, man. All of Esau, every one of them, right? How are they gonna receive salvation if every one of them, right, are going to be bound and then and then incinerated? How is that possible, right? To save them, so it says as a Boeing wall, right? Because that's one of the things what they did to us, right? You heard about the Katrina, right? It's so-called, it was a levee, and supposedly this levee was bound to break. Though people said they heard a big bang, some explosions, allegedly, right? But the Lord said that's what you are. You're like this the levee about to break. You're about to be flooded. You're about to have an evil time that's going to come upon your empire, right? Your rulership, your eon, right? Your world, right? Your rulership. Shall ye be, and as a tottering fence. Yeah, and that's what's happening right now to America, man. the economy, the stock market was crashing. Then they do some type of rigging of the stock market and bring it back up. But they're telling you, especially the experts, the economic experts, are telling you there's only about a matter of time where the bubble is going to burst. So there ain't going to be any more of this being able to fluctuate, and then being able to push the prices of gold down again, and the prices of silver down a little bit, and then it shoots back up, and they try to repress it down to keep everything at a I guess enough to feed to deceive the sheeple, right? Deceive the people who are asleep, right? Because you follow, this thing, you know, on command, but you don't follow the Lord, which a lot of you ain't meant to, right? So it's only consult, right? That's what they do. These meetings, they go into Davos, Switzerland, and have these conversations, and they're going to, these different international meetings and things, and it's really so they can consult together, this meeting with all the different elites, and these different, right? Because what's his name, Benjamin Netanyahu, right, is supposed to be a international fugitive, but then he's at these conferences, speaking on what's the future for the world. Like, they're not talking about what's the future for Israel, or what's the future for just wherever respective place that they're from. These are what they expect for the world and for the people, right? For the slaves, right? Which is about to bring in that CBDC, or whatever digital coin, however they name it, whatever they want to name it, whether it's the Russian ruble, the Chinese yen, the American stable coin. It's all going to be a digital CBDC coin, or some type of digital thing that's going to be tagged in your hand, in your left hand or your right hand, and your forehead, that you may not be able to buy or sell unless you have that, unless you're part of the grid, unless you're part of the Internet of Things. So they consult to cast him down, right? Which is talking about Israel, right? Which you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians are the Israelites, right? All 12 tribes, right? And that even that includes our women, right? That woman's got to be part of one of the tribes, whether whatever tribe it is that she's technically from, because we can't say for sure she's from Judah or Benjamin or even Levi. She could be Asherite, she could be but she's definitely an Israelite, man. Too much talent. The spirits definitely bear witness. She's an Israelite. And they do nothing but try to cast down his excellency, being what? Jacob, or Israel, from his excellency, right? They delight in lies. See, and them telling them, oh yeah, she didn't win. It wasn't enough creativity. It wasn't enough this. It wasn't enough. Man, they're just trying to cast down her excellency. And they did it with lies, right? And that's what this dude is. He's a false accuser. That's what the devil means. False accuser. So he falsely accused her of not having the proper scores or this and that, though her thing was perfection, and yeah, and gave her second place. But it says they bless with their mouth. Oh yeah, you were good, for a black person, right? You're pretty for a black person, right? These are the things that they bless with their mouth, but you're all right for a so-called Mexican person, for somebody who swam over here, right? You're not too bad. Though you jump the border, but you're all right guy, right? Yeah, I thought all you Indians just drink, So that's the little subtle things, the little underhand things that they say. But then, they're blessed. They're blessing you. Oh man, you're great. oh man, that's nice, man. You know, because all of them like, you know, Michael Jordan and Mike Tyson, and everybody loved Kobe when he was on top before they brought up something, even though it was a lie, but it tarnished him, right? Everybody loved OJ until they brought up to this whole thing with his ex-wife, right? If it doesn't fit, you must have quit, right? He was America's sweetheart, you know. Michael Jackson was the greatest thing since sliced bread until he did something to piss off the elite. Now he's this, he's that, and that, and this, and hey, now we found out who the pedophiles really are, right? And even if he was, I'm pretty sure you taught him that, right? Because we know that Illuminati stuff, that Freemason stuff, go all the way back, and it's all through the music industry, through the Hollywood, through even the basic stuff, you know. The news anchors, all of them all tied into that type of thing, you know. But it says, you know, and that's why it's all about pushing your lies, holding the narrative. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. Salah, yeah, these are the things you got to meditate on. You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, man. These Edomites, right? That's how they are, you know. It says, my soul, wait thou only upon the power of the Most High, Yahweh, right? Because that's really, ultimately, I'm pretty sure she didn't know nothing about Yahweh Bashim Shai. That was early in the time of the truth, and then not to mention she was in France. You know, the truth came out of One West over in Harlem, pretty much around that same time the elders was pushing. But it was small. It was before the YouTube and all that other stuff where it's doing the heavy lifting. So Lord willing, she sees one of these videos and come to the truth, you know, because that's what she was doing. Because matter of fact, let's look at what her name meant, right? Because they're here to cast down your excellency, but Apostle Gabar always goes into the nomen omens, right? Meaning name predictions. Salaki, if I'm saying it right, you know. But yeah, our thing is always on Yahweh, right? Yahweh Basham, Yahweh Shai, right? Because Yahweh is going to send his son. For my expectation is from him, right? Oh yeah, because hey, it's all about the Spirit. The Spirit has to be given. It's a gift, right? The Holy Spirit is a gift. You can't just obtain it upon your own, right? It comes from him. And my expectations is from Yahweh Basham, Yahweh Shai. So Lord willing, the Lord don't let me give up on myself, and hopefully that there's an expectation to be there, starting with myself first. But yeah, for you brothers, you sisters, man, hey, may the Lord, your expectations come from Yahweh, Basham Yahweh Shai, right? You know, they want to cast you down from your excellency. As a matter of fact, let's look at what her name, because they said Sharia, and this is one of those things that because right here it says that it's an Indian or South Asian name, so that could be another reason why they did what they did, you know, because it says her name she was Sharia, but they say it different, right?
Surya.
See, Suya, but Sharia, right? But they call it Shura, right? But spelled the same way. So they probably looking at this chick is better than us, and she's mocking us. And then based on the name, it says it is a script term for the sun. See, she was outshining the ass, right? And they didn't like that, right? Especially this is being a Asian name, so that's why they put the Asian girl ahead of her. And it says and the primary Hindu solar deity presenting light, energy, and life as the main deity in Hinduism. right? They said well, her name was Sharia, but spelled the same way, and they Sharia, whatever that's what they call it, is a symbol of vitality and wisdom, right? Frequently depicted riding a 7-horse carriage, right? It is commonly used as a masculine giving name in India and in Southern Asia. See, so that was like a kick to the face to them, that have this beautiful what they would call black but Israelite woman just shine on them, like you said, the sun, shine on them, man, right? But they want to cast down your excellency, Let's look up her last name. It says Bonnelly. It's just referring primary to a Scottish term, right? Which Scott means black land, right? Because that's where we ruled for 1,000 years. So-called black people ruled Europe, right? Being the stewards, right? Which were so-called black people who ruled Europe, Scotland, you're Scotland and England, right? Which was King James ruled it, he, him and his son, Black Boy, well, if you know, right? Because, people come up with all sorts of madness, but we were the ones who ruled, France, Spain, all these other things were actually so-called black people, but, and that's beautiful. And then what it says, a Scottish term for a parting drink. Parting drink. A stirred up cup. Right? And that's exactly what she was, man. You think of how upset she was when when they didn't give her the gold, to the point she didn't want to stand on the podium, and then they had her stand on the podium. So she took off the silver and just held it in her hand. And then it said that she, later on, right? As a matter of fact, it says it right here. It says, and it also refers to a specific place near Edinburgh, or look at this, or in sports, a signature backflip maneuver performed on one ice skate by French figure skater Cherie Bonnelly. So she ended up making history. So if you want to say a backflip or maneuver, you have to say the Bonnelly, right? You have to use her name to mention that backflip, right? that's the Bonnelly backflip or maneuver. Are you gonna do the Bonnelly maneuver? So she ended up making history, right? But she was stirred up. That's what made her do that. She was like a stirred up cup, man. Right? Because they wanted to cast down your excellency, right? Yeah, so this is First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor, right? Which is talking about Israel, us as a nation. We had glory, and as we fell, there was a dishonor in our fall. There was a dishonor increased, and her excellency, because we were on top. We were, we were blessed beyond measure. Any enemy that came up against us, though we didn't have a king, though we didn't have this, then we didn't have all these so-called fancy things of the world, we won our battles. And then even when we did have a king, you put on sackcloth, you prayed, you fast. We did it as a nation, we did it as a people. We wasn't separate with, Bloods and Crips and, you know what I'm saying, all these different things, male against female, I mean, the weirdo things that is today. He, them, they, it, right? All these pronouns. When none of those things. You know, you know, the Lord said we're a peculiar people, though. Obviously, right? You know, because what is it? Because there's no people so near and so dear unto Yahweh who comes to defend them the way the Lord's going to do for us. And the Lord's going to make a miraculous salvation for us, man. So far beyond all that they had thought or even could even imagine or even hope for. But right now, they brought us low, right? Part of that anger, and this goes all the way back. That's why I'm bringing this out, because this goes all the way back to the time of the Greeks when they first ruled under, started with Alexander, right? And they even tell you that in this chapter at the beginning. Started with Alexander, and then it goes all the way down to all these other Edomite, which today you call them so-called white people, or should we say self-proclaimed white people, right? So we fell. And her excellency, which is talking about the nation of Israel, was turned into mourning. And see, that's where we're at, where they have these nations. Even when you go to the Olympics, these are supposed to be Olympics are supposed to be these other nations and other people, but somehow these Edomites still have power to manipulate the outcome. Why is that? Because these nations, when you go into Psalms 83, they're all confederate with Esau, and they're all confederate to hate you, right? Come up against you, right? It says, moreover, King Antiochus, right, which is the Edomite, right, wrote, and this is their plan even to this very day, wrote to his whole kingdom, right, which they're doing, like I said, they're doing that now. They're going to these different things, having councils, the G7s, the BRICS meetings, and they're really, this whole thing is a plan that all should be one people, right? Because I did a lesson, and I call it cookie cutter in my lesson. It's called cookie cutter, and it explains that even in Russia, so-called, they have this big old beef with Russia, and Russia is building 15-minute cities as well, right? So, and then also the plan to get there, he's pushing the same agenda, that there's these immigrants that's coming in, they're taking the jobs, so there's no jobs for you. So then we're going to give the jobs to AI, and it's splitting the image to every other elite person that's out there. Then they coming up with the same storyline, and that's how they bringing in the MOTB by crippling the dollar, which their thing is called the ruble. So they're going to cripple the ruble to bring in the digital, micro CHIP, right? MOTB. And this is happening around the world, all the kingdoms, the whole kingdom, and this time it's actually the whole Orchamene, because it said that they would come out to deceive the four corners. See, at the time that the Roman Empire ruled, they didn't rule the four corners, but now the revised Roman Empire, the one with the deadly wound that was healed, they ruled all four corners. Even when they were the Greeks, they didn't rule all four corners of the earth, but this time they do. They rule all four corners of the earth. So it makes sense that all the heathens come up against us, right? Even in the thing where it's supposed to be this international thing, and we're supposed to just really see who the best of the best is, and whoever the best is, you give that person the gold, because that gives the next person something to achieve to the next following year or the following things, because then you don't really have the best. If you gave this thing to the Moabite who wasn't better than her, then that's not the best of the best. And how do you come to that next level, right? It's all BS, right? It says all kingdoms should be one people, right? And everyone should leave his laws, so all heathen, right? Told you, all these other nations, they're with it. They're with whatever Esau's, they're with it. All these places are building all over the world right now. 15-minute cities are going up. All of them are having the same issue with immigrants coming in and then so-called taking the jobs, but they're not taking the jobs because they're finna set the infrastructure up so that it allows them to give the jobs to AI, which is going to put everyone on universal basic income, and we're talking about worldwide, right? And those that don't want to comply should die, which that's what they plan on anyway, because they planned on wiping pretty much most of the planet out. When according to the Georgia Guidestones, you say when you say you only want 500 million, well, there's 8 billion people, so that means you want to knock off 700 and 500 million people, it's like 700 billion, 500 million people, and only keep 500 million. So that's pretty much the whole planet. So you shouldn't count on you living anyway. Your hope it must be in Yahweh Basham Awashai. You know what I'm saying? It says everyone should leave the laws, his laws, so all the heathen agreed, right? And that's what they're all doing to this very day. They agree. Oh, you hate the social? Oh, we do too. We don't like them Israelites. And we're gonna call them black. We're gonna call them even right now. Somehow, we were never called Afro ever. We were called, might have been, they called us Negro. They call us colored. All these other things like that. Never what we call Afro. Like that's a hairstyle. Literally, you can go around the world. There's an Afro Kuwaiti, Afro Afghani, right? You know, these are the things that they've thrown on us to say that to say that it's like another way of saying you're African, but Africa's a continent. And there are many different countries, and there's just because those are dark nations, all dark nations are not the same. Though they play that the Ethiopians are Jewish, well, that has to be impossible when Ethiopian is in the Bible, and they go back to basically Cush, I believe, and that goes back to Ethiopia's in the Bible, right? And they're Hamites, right? So Ethiopians are Hamites. You can't be well, I guess you could be Jewish and be anything, but to be an Israelite or Yasha Allah, no. But it says but all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king, and that's what they've done. That's the Psalms 83. This is what all the heathen has done. 25 verse 22 said the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? Right? This is Rebecca, right? Our foremother Rebecca, right? Which gave birth to Esau and Jacob, right? Right? Which would be Ashashua and Jacob, right? Ashashua means wasted away, right? He didn't have any, he didn't have the dark melanin, like his melanin got stripped away. He was basically a clean leopard, right? From the time he was born, and it's basically what was said, because they were fighting in the womb, and that's what's happening right now. It's a spiritual war, which is going to be physical soon. So it was both physical and spiritual in the womb. But there was a time where she wasn't bearing, and Isaac prayed, which was Yahushai, for his wife to be pregnant. And then, through faith, we believe that the spirits of Cain and Abel came in the reincarnation and regeneration, being Esau being Cain, and Jacob being the spirit of Abel, right? Right, a righteous spirit, And she went to inquire of Yahweh, and Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, right, from a womb, And they're two manner of people, right? When you got the righteous, son of the righteous, son of the wicked, it's going to come out your bowels. And then you got the sons of man, which are the other nations, you know? And it says, the two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and one people shall be stronger than the other people. See, when you could do a backflip, land on one foot, and still skate and make it look graceful, when you outskate someone and they have to basically cook the books for the other person to win, you are stronger than the other people, right? They only want to cast down your excellency, and the elder shall serve the younger. See, and that's what they hate, right? They hate that they'll never be the same. They never be on that top level as you. Yeah, so this is Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people. See, they're upset that you were picked from before the foundation of the world to be the holy people, right? You know, there's no way around it. This is what the Lord Yahweh have already ordained, and then set it up through His Son. You know, to the point the Lord want it so bad that He gave His only begotten Son to be humiliated, to be beaten. And then the Lord said it pleased Him to bruise Him. To what? To bring back His inheritance, to bring back His holy people. Thou art an holy people unto Yahweh. See, unto Him. You are holy unto Him. So that's very important. See, the Lord is not, like you say, He's not a man that He's not a man that He should lie, nor the Son of Man that He should repent. So if He says that you are holy people unto Him, He see that with value. He's not like Esau that has a blessing and sells his blessing for soup, right? For lentil soup. You know? Oh, what, you know what I mean? And He set up the elect to be like that too. You mean, as your Father in heaven is holy, be ye holy. We're not going to just give up a blessing, right? So if He see that we're holy, right, separate, we're different from every other nation, right? We're important to Him. Hey, then we have to be separate, and Yahweh, through His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, has to be important to us. Which that's you know, how He's going to program the elect, and then eventually the entire nation of Israel. It says thy power, yeah, right. Thou art holy people. Yahweh is thy power, right? And what it says that He is my expectations, right? He's the power. He gives you the power to have an expectation that's of Him, you know. And it says that your expectation comes from Him. Whew. He have chosen, see, and once He already chose you, right, which goes into elect, right? The elect of the Most High is already what? Chosen, predestined, chosen thee to be a special people unto Himself, above above all people that are upon, not just Esau, all the people. See, and this is where they hate you. This is where they're trying to cast down your excellency. This is where they all come with a council on a, hey, I know she was, no, let's just say, Miss Moabite, and a Moabite who wasn't as good as her, stand up there, smiling ear to ear, as if she really beat her. But yeah, she knew she won. She was like a stirred up cup. Yeah, she was stirred up. You could see it. She was, hey man. It says yeah, chosen thee to be a special people to Himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were fewest of all people. Which really, yeah, that's the way it's going to go back to the elect. It's going to be the fewest of all people, right? 144,000 is very few. Then you got the innumerable multitude, which is going to be a lot of people, but it's a small number to even Esau wants to unalive 7,500,000,000 people. You know what I'm saying? That's a small number, you know? Yeah, so this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 53. Upon the 6th day, thou gavest commandment, which Yahweh gave commandment to Yahweh Shai, right? Gave him the blueprint, told him what to do, so on and forth, right? So Yahweh Shai and the angels created the earth and everything that you see, and also everything you don't see, because all of it's fabric and woven together, right? It's just things to keep it all together, right? But well, it's things that's going to tear some things up too, because they went into, was it the Hadron Collider, and used that to get atoms, which are going to go into the ICBM missiles, hypersonic missiles, nuclear power missiles, right? The things that's going to, and that's that spiritual aspect that's going to rip into reality, right? Spiritual and reality is going to collide, being also what the war in heaven, when Michael shall stand up for his people. Michael, that great prince, right? Being was it also Revelations 12, I believe it is in. Should be a war in heaven, being Yahweh Shai and Michael is going to fight against Esau, which really it's not just going to be Esau, it's going to be all the heathen nation that's going to basically be in one consent with him to fight against Yahweh Shai. Even was it Ronald Reagan that mentioned that? Yeah, I think it was Reagan that mentioned that if there was some entity that came in from outer space, wouldn't we put our differences aside and come together and fight? And that's exactly what they're going to do, because that's what's coming. Yahweh Shai is coming. They're gonna come with one consent, right? Which that's what they do. They're going one consent against Yahweh and his only begotten Son, and definitely one consent against his children, which to cast down your excellency. Because what? Because upon the 6th day thou didst give its commandment upon the earth, that before thee, right, before the Most High, before his only begotten Son, and of course the elect, which should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creepy things. So all the little things that was going to be necessary in life and living, sustainability, being able to have water, food, and then basically like a cycle of life, and you were supposed to use, like Gad used to do. He used to use every part of the beast, put it in the ground, put the thing so it grows back the grass, and then you move to another part so it has like a Sabbath, so you're not always constantly pulling from that land, and now the grass and things, and then the animals can come back, and the animals themselves will be able to eat the grass, and just a cycle of life. Pretty much they showed you that, they told you that in the Lion King, right? And that's how things are supposed to be. You're not supposed to just constantly reap from the earth and from one spot and not allow that earth to rest. But that's Esau, the greed, and that's what the food is getting smaller. Now he has to think, damn, what could I do? Throw GMO stuff into it, using his science. And he's, you know what? We want to keep the real food for ourselves, because they figure one day they're gonna have to go into those bunkers or whatever, and they want the real food to themselves, and they want to, but the world is a laboratory to them. They're mad scientists. So everything's a project to them, a science project. So the CV-19 was a science project. They're about to push something else. It's all a science project. The micro C-hip, which is the mark of the beast, by the way, it's all a science project. That's in his mind. But see, he's mad that what? And after these Adam came also. No, oh yeah, After these Adam, after these Adam also, right, whom thou madest Lord of all creatures, right? So that represents Adam is representing of mankind, right? Because they'll say everybody come from Adam, right? Only because Noah, right? Because the 8 persons that were saved through Noah comes from the lineage of Adam. But before that, there were other lineages. That's why it talks about the trees in the garden, which we're talking about other nations. But when the Lord flooded the world, those other nations ceased to exist, and only one nation came out. Well, that would be like I said, for lack of a better word, it would be the Adamites or the sons of God, right? But through the sons of God, you still had Ham, Shem, and Japheth. But the Lord made the blessing come through Shem. And then all of Shem did not get the blessing because even through Shem, the lineage had to continue. You know what I mean? There was a Faxad and Eber and so on and so forth, all the way down until there was his name Terah, which gave birth to Abraham. Abraham gave birth, or begotten, not birth, but he begotten Isaac, and Isaac begotten Jacob, and Jacob begotten the 12 tribes, which we're here scattered across the world, but the bulk of Israel is here in America because what? A great atrocity is about to happen to America. 200 million warheads is coming to hit this place. It's going to be the greatest deliverance that's necessary, showing that what? And after these Adam also whom thus made its Lord of all creation. See, and that's what Esau don't like, because from the very beginning, it was always set up for us to be the Lord of all creation. Right? But through our fall, what other nations got a chance to rule the world, right? Of him come we all. See, so all of us come from that, right? And right, see, to give you an addentation, and right, separation, because so the Lord, well, it's going to tell you, and the people also whom thou hast chose, right, which means separate, which holy people, meaning what? Separate, chosen, the elect, right? Because that's who the Lord's coming back for, the elect of the nation of Israel. They're already predestined, they already, chosen before the foundation of the world. They're the one who helped create the world, right? Which, by process of elimination, these people are Israelites. These people are Judites, right? But the Lord is coming to save the 12 tribes, right? The 12 manner of fruits, right? So, to prove it, right? He says, all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, out of one, right? Because thus has, out of one, Yahweh, right? Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakal Kadash, because thou hast made it the world, what? For our sake. See? All the way. And this is what Esau don't like. So his constant thought is to, how can I cast him down? How can I make him feel worse? How can I make him feel less? Right? I don't want them to remember that the world belongs to them. They can't remember that. But the Lord said, I will stir up your pure remembrance. And that's what's happening right now. And he don't like it. That's why he's going to come down with great wrath, knowing that he has but a short time, in order to destroy that, to try to destroy that, to push the MOTB. Yeah, so this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man, right, which is the Israelites, right? Jacob is the righteous man, right? Starting with the elect. But, you have our women that are within the nation of Israel, right? Stand in great boldness. Hey, and that's crazy. Her name was Bonali, right? And she stood in great boldness. She said, "Hey, look, I ain't gonna take your little, because basically they gave her silver as a like a courtesy, though she deserved the gold. She knew she did better, you know. And so then she stood in great boldness, and the next time she came out in 1998 and just made history. No one else has ever been able to do that or accomplish that. That's like the other sister too, right? The one that did the who was in the they would do the floor on the floor and would do these the flips. Forgot her name, but she did a flip where she flipped forward then flipped backwards, and so the next year they made that move illegal, so she couldn't be able to win, and that's all they do is try to cast down your excellency, you know. They see the Lord said one people shall be stronger than that. That proves that we're stronger than you. That's just our women. How much more once the Lord gives us spiritual power, man? You know what I'm saying? When we're just like Yahweh Shai with perfection, man, bro, it's already over. But I mean, forget about it, right? But yeah, she stood with so much that what's her name was Bonali, that flip is tagged to her name, right? To do a backflip on one leg, landed on an ice skate while you're still moving. You got to say hey, that's a maneuver, that Bonali movement, the Bonali, what do they call it? Not movement, but maneuver, right? The Bonali maneuver, right? You got to give credit to her. That's boldness that she did it that way and made history. It says before the face of such as had afflicted them, right? Yeah, she kind of did that, right? But that's what we're going to do as a nation, right? As as the men of Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, starting with the elect men and also with the women and the children, which and made no account of his labor. So she did a great thing, and that was going to be historical to ice skating. But you gave it to this Moabite that no one remembers her. No one remembers this Moabite like that. And you can't say, oh my God, I achieved to be this greatness as this Moabite, because she haven't did anything like that. She haven't did anything great. You know, she got the the gold, but she don't have the what is it? The Lord said, wait, should be one people should be stronger than you. Don't have they don't have the ability to be stronger to do something more athletic than that. You don't have it. You know, can't say this is the greatest ice skating athletic person is this more. It's just not it. Sharia Bonley is the greatest athletic females ice skating that ever is or ever will be. Right? That's why they're trying to do a little thing, but they're trying to do it in passing. But in reality, she's the greatest that's ever done it. You know, it says when they see it, they shall be in trouble, right? Because the Lord's, like I said, we read that earlier. The Lord's going to bring deliverance, salvation for His nation, starting with the elect, and the world is going to be in trouble. You know, with trembling fear, with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of His what? Salvation, of His salvation. See, that's ultimately what the Lord is coming with destruction on one hand, salvation for the elect. So though you try to cast down our excellency, our salvation is going to be strange. It's going to be great. What they call UFOs, which are chariots of the Lord, different shapes and colors, and appearing and reappearing and becoming bigger and smaller, and you're going to see all these things, little orbs glowing around. You know, it's going to be crazy, bro. You know, the fierce look on all the angels' faces. It says, Yeah, it's coming from salvation. So far beyond all that they looked for, they repenting, which means all you other nations, starting with Esau, it's gonna they repenting, and not like you were repenting to the Most High, like, oh, I'm sorry, just repenting as far as you're just sorry that you're at the that you got the short end of the stick, so to speak. That's the only reason why you're repenting. Because you thought you were going to have the kingdom, the rulership, your age, your eon forever, and that's the only reason why you're going to be repenting and groaning and for anguish of spirit. Let me Satan trying to mess with me. Anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he, right? Which you're talking about, that Jacob, the nation of Israel, whom we had sometime in derision, right? They had the ability to put that woman in derision, you know, to cast down her excellency. They had the power to do that. Let's come together. Okay, let's come back and just and a proverb of a reproach, right? Yeah, and that she, being we sin against our power. It put us at the bottom, right? We in the ghettos, the vadios, the reservations, the other nations. Even if you ain't there, the other nations are above you. They see who you are. They know who you are. Even when they don't know it, it's just it's spiritual. It's within them to be like, I don't like. I just want to. Nope. I don't want her to win now. I don't want them to win. I don't want this. It's just in them because it's a spiritual thing, right? To try to have you in derision. Who we had sometime in derision, and a proverb of reproach, right? We fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. See, that's what they did to her. They counted her thing to be just madness, and then to be out without honor. But she's made history. The best female ice skater or figure skater or whatever you want to call it ever in history, right? No one else has done that. You know what I mean? That's history. You know. How is his, right, which you're talking about, Jacob, so-called black, Hispanic, Canadian, and Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline has come back to Israel through your father, scattered around the world, right? Even when you look like Israel, a lot of you don't know that you're Israel. But some people are going to come, they're going to hear it, and they're going to come back. She's in, France or something? She may hear one of these lessons and go, oh, that's why they did that to me, because I'm an Israelite. And then she just starts, listening to the elders of GMS or, men of like mind doctrine, men is, speaking the same things, you know. It says how is he numbered among the sons, really should be sons, but right, it says children of the power of the Most High. See, because we are. It said the Lord made the world for our sake, which is the Israelites, the chosen, the predestined ones, the chosen ones, the elect, right? Separated, holy, right? The sons of the Most High Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash, and his lot amongst what? The saints. And that's ultimately what it is. Saints. Sanctified, yeah. Holy, sanctified, be clean, cleansed, right? Sanitary, cleansed, separate, right? When we're not, defiled with the ways of the world. Not that you haven't done this or did that, and this and that, but you stay. What's it? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is my expectation. See, your expectation is in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And that's what keeps you clean, because you're repenting. Not that because it says a righteous man or woman, young woman, fall 7 times but get back up. So being that your expectations in Yahweh, you don't let something like that and them trying to knock you from your excellency stop you from continuing to please and to beg and to please um, Yahweh Bashem Shai, because this is like a marathon. It's not a race. It's not the 100-yard dash, or it's not even a relay or nothing. This is it's a marathon. When the Apostle Paul said that he ran his race, it's remember he was shipwrecked 3 times. He died. He came back alive from the dead. I mean, bro, like he went through a lot. You know what I mean? So be casting you down for your excellency. Yeah, you gotta go through a lot. I mean, you know, showing you that's the power of the Most High, man, and we have to believe in that. So with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Let's give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to your sisters, you Akwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and above all, Kwam Yasharala, the water Yahweh Bashimosha. Aman.